What's going on YouTube? So about 6 years ago, Volkswagen decided to give the US market what it really wanted, a large family three-row SUV.
And in the time since, it has become one of Volkswagen's most important products. And we're in the refreshed 2024 model, which is promising big changes on the outside, inside, and under the hood.
So is this updated Atlas the three-row crossover that stands out above all the rest in this highly competitive segment? Let's go ahead and find out. So like always, let's start out under the hood for our spec dump. This is a very important aspect of this refreshed Atlas because we have a totally new engine on board. As a matter of fact, they have actually gotten rid of the previous 4-cylinder and V6 options and replaced it with a brand new turbo 4-cylinder. This is a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder making 269 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. That's going to be down 7 horsepower from the previous V6, but it actually has more torque.
That does mean it goes faster to 60 miles per hour. It's also routed to the ground via an 8-speed automatic, front-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive. As far as your fuel economy figures, those are also bumped up, 23 combined with the front drive, 22 combined with all-wheel drive.
Of course, we're anxious to get this out on the road, and we will be doing that later on in this video to show how this performs. We're also going to get things like our signature sound level reading. But first, let's close up the hood and take a look at all the updates Volkswagen has made to the exterior. Now, as far as the exterior design is concerned, we always thought this was a very handsome SUV. And I think for 2024, what Volkswagen is really focused on is also making this look pretty upscale as well. You're going to notice, first and foremost, a new grille design. So we kind of have a larger, more expanded grille setup here. And there's going to be some revised trim structure as well. What we're looking at is the SEL Premium R-Line. So this is the only way you're going to get the R-Line package. And when you get the R-Line appearance stuff, that's going to give you the full blacked out grille you see here, as well as the more aggressive gloss black lower fascia elements. There is also a new Peak Edition model. That one's going to give you the rugged design, which gives you those tough looking lower bumpers, as well as some other design elements throughout the rest of the exterior. Now, we can't talk about the refresh without talking about the updated lighting because that's very, very noticeable, especially at night. So we have premium full LED headlights as standard equipment on all models, and these are adaptive. That is a very nice feature for this segment of vehicle. The other big thing is the signature light bar and lighted Volkswagen logo. Both those features are new, and they're going to be included on all but the very base trim level, again giving you that very distinct look at night. Now, as we roll around to the rear design, it has also seen some aesthetic updates this year. Perhaps not as much as the front, but we do see some similar things applied here to the back.
Yeah, and really the main thing that you're going to notice that's different is the tail light design. So I'm going to have Drew hop inside and see if all the elements are LED with this new tail light design. We do have an LED brake light portion, LED reverse light, and LED amber turn signal indicator, as well as all of our accenting is going to be LED. Additionally, we have the red lighted Volkswagen emblem here in the back. I think overall this is a very premium taillight design. I really like what they've done here. They kind of took a cheat sheet from up in the front with the full length design, and that's going to be back here in the rear as well. Now, additionally, we have Atlas branding going through here. And then if we drop down to the lower area, I do like the way this looks as well. We have some piano black as well as quad faux exposed exhaust outlets here on this SEL R-Line model. And then as far as our tow rating is concerned, we do have a 5,000 pound tow rating, which is actually the same as the previous V6 model. So no, you're not sacrificing the towing capability when you go for the 4-cylinder.
Now, in terms of your wheel options, you're going to have all new choices for 2024. You're going to start out with 18-inch alloys on your base SE trim level, and as you move up, you will go to 20-inch alloys, and thankfully, Volkswagen has retained the 21-inch alloy option for the SEL Premium R-Line. That's 1 inch larger than what most of the rivals are offering, and as you can see, very nice looking design with the contrast. If you choose that Peak Edition, that is also going to have an 18-inch alloy, but that's going to have all-terrain tires for a little bit more off-road ability. Now, as we move up here to your mirrors, you're going to have standard heating and standard blind spot monitoring. If you want power folding, you'll have to choose this top-end model.
Now the side of the Atlas hasn't changed much when it comes to the overall design, actually really any over the refresh model. It's going to definitely focus on the front and the rear. Now as far as the overall length is concerned, you're still going to retain the big shape and size that the Atlas has always had, 200.7 inches long, which makes it a lot longer than stuff like the Kia Telluride, Hyundai Palisade, as well as the regular wheelbase Highlander. It is going to be a little bit less than Grand Highlander still though. Now I do also have good news for those of you who took your driver's test more than once because you couldn't pass it, because this Atlas is now including their driver's assist systems as standard equipment. So all 4 of your active safety features are now standard on the Atlas. So even if you go for that base model, you will have that as standard equipment. But guys, that's going to wrap up the exterior design. And
if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now on to the interior. But before we get inside, let's take a look at our key fob. Volkswagen is including Smart Entry as standard equipment. Remote Start comes on the SE Tech and above. And this is a new key fob for the Atlas model. Very nice looking key fob. This is a super premium and upscale key fob. Kind of reminds me of an Audi, as a matter of fact. Now getting inside, of course, you're gonna have sensors behind the handle, so just grab behind it. That will open up the door, and the mirrors will also fold out as well. Now, as many changes as they made to the exterior, they made a lot more changes to the interior. We're gonna talk about all those updates, of course, as we go through this part of the video, but first let's talk about some material and color choices. So you are going to have a VTEX leatherette as standard equipment. Most of the trim levels, as a matter of fact, will come with that until you get to this SEL Premium. This is going to give you real leather, and it also comes with the very premium diamond stitch. So as you can see, these seats look excellent. We have the black color choice, but it has a white inlay inside of the diamond perforation, so it looks super nice, as well as the white piping. If you don't like this color though, you can also get beige or a French toast option. As far as the seat controls, they're going to be 10-way power adjusting across the entire lineup with 2-way lumbar support. If you choose SEL or above, that's going to get you the 3-person memory. But let's get inside and take a look at all the details. Now that I'm fully inside the cabin, let's look at the rest of the materials, because this is an area that Volkswagen was really emphasizing, making this cabin feel like a more premium space, and they were definitely successful at that. Let's move to the door trim first. So as you can see, we have a leather material all across the armrest. We have a perforated leather through the center section, soft touch along the top, and we have this faux wood decor on this fully loaded model. You're going to see that that actually passes through the entire dashboard as well. As we go up to the upper dash, soft touch plastic, more of the faux wood. There are some other trims you can choose, but this one here I think is my favorite because it feels and looks very realistic. They've also added a lot of leather details to the lower dash, so as you can see, this is going to have that, as well as along our console, and then a nice piano black through the center section. Everything, of course, feels nice and solid in that typical German way. Now, we do have a new push-button start located right here on the dashboard. Now, another thing that makes this cabin feel more premium than the outgoing model is the fact that we have a good deal more standard features on board. One of those nice new standard features is going to be this 10.25-inch digital gauge cluster. This is a very info-rich system that you have a lot of different choices. You can even display the map right there in the gauge cluster, kind of like you can on an Audi, and you've got all these different designs that you can switch between. Furthermore, we also do have a head-up display on board that's going to be on the SEL trim level and above. Now, pulling back to the steering wheel, as you can see, nice looking steering wheel. It's the most modern version of the Volkswagen steering wheel. Flat bottom here, and we even have the R logo since this is an R line. As far as the wheel itself, manual tilt and telescoping, and then we have a really cool standard feature now, standard steering wheel heating. That's very rare for this class of vehicle. Let's get to one of my favorite things about the updated cabin though, and that's the fact that they've really improved interior storage space. We'll start out underneath our center console. This by itself is going to be a nice large space. It does have a felt lining at the bottom as well, and a USB-C. Don't have the coupons with me, but let's see if it can store a stack of window stickers. Look at that, no problem, of course. We do have a little storage cubby right there, 2 cup holders. If you push this back, it's going to reveal to you your wireless phone charging pad, also standard, and a couple more USBs. The big news though is going to be this right here. This is a brand new center pass-through, so you can stick just about anything down here, giving you a lot more flexibility with the interior storage. Now you have that flexibility because Volkswagen has moved to a new shifter. This is an electronic kind of nub style shifter. Very easy to use though. You're just going to press up for drive, or down for drive, press up for reverse, excuse me. When you go into reverse, if you choose this fully loaded model, that's going to get you a 360-degree camera system. So that's what that's going to look like. SEL and above is going to give you parking sensors, and this top trim is also going to give you auto park abilities, both parallel and perpendicular. Then for park, just press the P. You also have an electronic parking brake located right behind that. Now, like a lot of recent Volkswagens, they have changed the climate arrangement. So you notice you don't have any hard buttons now to adjust the climate control. It's going to be these touch-sensitive toggles that you see on both sides, driver and passenger side. To quickly adjust your temperature, you're just going to slide up and down on this touch-sensitive pad. It's pretty responsive as well. If you need some additional functions, you'll press that button right there, and that will bring you to a menu where you can take manual control of things like your zones as well as your fan speed. Now, off to the side here or inside of the climate menu, this is where you're going to see an important new standard feature. You have standard heated seats on all trim levels and standard ventilated seats on all trim levels. Yes, you heard me right. That was previously reserved for just the fully loaded model, and most of the rivals also reserve that for the top trims, but you're going to have that standard here on this updated Atlas. Let's also move back over here to the center section for our audio control. Same as the climate, you're just going to swipe to turn up. If you choose this fully loaded model, you're going to get a 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system that's going to replace the previous Fender version, and we'll give it a sample right now. Yeah, so overall sound quality of this system is quite good. Really fills up the cabin nicely and has good bass with a subwoofer. All right, now we're here at our new infotainment system. So of course, if you've owned or been into a previous version of the Atlas, you'll know this is a big change. Again, standard 12-inch display. This is running the newest version of Volkswagen's infotainment software called MIB3. Also does have a voice assistant, as you can tell by what I just said. And right now we're running wireless Android Auto. That's what that's going to look like. Of course, you have wireless Apple CarPlay as well. Let's go back to the main system, take a look at that. Your apps are just nicely laid out through there. Pretty easy to use. We also noticed that it is nice and responsive to touch. If you press that again, that's going to take you to your home screen. Kind of looks like CarPlay in itself. And if you swipe down from the top, it's going to give you some additional settings, including access to your HomeLink universal remotes, because they're not integrated up here into the auto dimming mirror. Up at the very top, we have a touch capacitive pad here to operate our panoramic sunroof. So if I swipe back, that's going to show off the full length of this. It's a very large sunroof. This is going to be standard on the Peak Edition and above. You can also option it on to the SE Tech model if you want.
Now this Atlas is all about family, so let's go ahead and talk about what you're getting in the second and third rows. Now I want to start out with the space because that's a very important part of any type of comfort level going on in the rear seat. We're looking at 37.6 inches of legroom, 40.4 inches of headroom. Now if we're talking numbers wise, how that compares to some of the competition, that is less than Kia Telluride, that's less than the Grand Highlander. That being said, when I sit back here, I think the measurements are just a little bit off because we did bring our bendy ruler all the way up to New York, and I'm going to get my measurement from my knee to the seat back adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". I'm sitting at 10 inches of knee space, so that is a lot, guys. So really, I don't think this is smaller than the competition, just to be honest with you. And then my feet, I can barely get them up there, and I can fully slide them in, which I certainly like, and it makes it a lot more comfortable. Now, speaking of slide, we can slide these seats forward and back a great deal. I believe it's about 7 inches forward and back if you want to add extra row or extra space to the third row, but certainly a lot of space and comfort going on here. Additionally, you can get captain's chairs available on most trim levels of this Atlas. Do keep in mind it's either 6-passenger seating or 7-passenger seating as you see configured today. Now here in the center we have standard vents on every single Atlas model. Dropping down below that, we're also going to have standard climate controls so we can adjust our climate individual from the front. Additionally, heated rear seats are included on SEL and SEL Premium. Dropping down below that, 2 USB ports. We have a household style outlet as well, so enough things to keep the entire family's tablets and stuff charged up. In the center we do have 2 cup holders with a nice armrest, and let's bring it to the door trim, guys. The door trim is made of really nice materials. We have a soft touch plastic up here. I think they really have improved the materials for this 2024 refresh with the wood trim going through here as well as the perforation. Additionally, for these sunshades, that's going to be included on SE Tech models and above. So all but the base one are going to get sunshades. Now dropping down to the lower area, the Atlas is all about really practicality, and we have a ton of storage in the door trim about whatever you're going to need, including bottles. And let's check out one of the best parts about this Atlas, and that would be the third row. So in order to get back here, Volkswagen has really, like I said, made this for the family. So one of the really great features about this car is to get into the third row, you just tilt the seat up like that, and you can actually leave a car seat installed when you do that because it doesn't fully like fold the seat or anything, so you're not going to have to uninstall your car seat every single time you want to get into the third row. But let's go ahead and hop back here and get our impressions here. I kind of wadded up the floor mat, but as far as the third row itself is concerned, the Atlas has always had one of the best third rows in the class, and that's going to continue for this 2024 model. Now, we're looking at 33.7 inches of legroom, 38.3 inches of headroom. So for someone of my size, headroom is certainly not an issue. Additionally, the legroom, keep in mind, this seat is slid all the way back in its tracks. It could go up quite a bit more than this, and I still have, see, brought my ruler back here, I still have 2 inches of knee space, which is really incredible. Most in this segment do not give you that much room. Also, my feet can slide up underneath the seat. As far as compared to those rivals, that's actually going to be larger than the vast majority of anything in the segment. It's actually even larger than the Toyota Grand Highlander, so very impressive third row. Additionally, the seats are very comfortable. They're going to be diamond stitched here in the third row, which I'm impressed by as well. Thigh support is really good. As far as other features, we have a couple cup holders. We do also have rear vents in the C-pillar, and then we also have 2 USB ports in the third row on both sides. Now, walking up to the tailgate on this Atlas, I am happy to report that you're going to have a hands-free power tailgate standard on all but the base model. So the vast majority of Atlases will have the hands-free power opening tailgate. So just wave your foot under the bumper to open it up. And as you can see, it does even work with the tow hitch install, which is something that the vast majority of competitors don't do. Every time they install one of those tow hitches, it hurts the hands-free system. Now, I do want to talk about the cargo capacity back here, though, because this is an incredibly impressive part of this Atlas. We're looking at 21 cubic feet of space behind the third row seats. Now, when I reach up here and easily fold them down, it is worth noting no power folding third row is available on the Atlas. We're looking at 55 cubic feet behind the second row, and if we fold the second row down, we're looking at a maximum of 96.6 cubic feet of cargo capacity. Now, let's do a little bit of a comparison to some of its rivals in terms of cargo capacity. It's going to be more than TELLURIDE, more than Palisade, more than regular Highlander. Really, the only two in the segment that this is still just ever so slightly less than are the Chevy Traverse and the all-new Toyota Grand Highlander. So this is by far one of the biggest options you can get in the entire segment. Now, I do want to point out a few things, though. For one, there's not any handles in this cargo area to fold the second row seats, so I'm going to have to go up there and do it manually. And as you can see, the seats do fold 60-40 split folding, and look how flat the cargo floor is. That really maximizes your amount of usable space back here, and it's going to make it to where you don't really have to work over any humps or anything, so that's very useful. Now, we do have another measuring device here at Car Confections because we want to give you all the facts and figures, and we're looking at 90 inches of space from the seat back all the way to the rear of the cargo area, which does mean that really is, I believe you can fit a full-size mattress in here. I will check on that figure and make sure, but I believe with 90 inches of space, you can actually fit a mattress in this Atlas's cargo area, which is very impressive for this segment of vehicle. Now, as far as other things, I want to point out we have a little storage off to the side, actually on that side as well. And then if we lift up the floor here, we do have a spare tire underneath of there. Well guys, it's finally time to be behind the wheel of the refreshed Atlas. Now, of course, this has that new powertrain under the hood, and we can't wait to show you what that's all about. So in this test drive, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, as you see on the screen right now, but one of the main things that we're going to be doing is talking about this new powertrain. So let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
That's up to 60 miles per hour, up a hill, obviously, as you can see. And overall, power feels pretty good. Certainly like that this new turbo has so much torque on board.
Yeah.
And a first observation is that it really actually sounds pretty quiet and refined as well.
Now, to be fair, that first acceleration was uphill, very much so, but this 2-liter actually has more torque than the previous V6. It does have less horsepower than the previous V6.
It's only 7 less horsepower,
yes.
So this new turbocharged engine is really replacing the V6 engine in essence, but now it's standard across the entire lineup, so there's no more of that low horsepower 2-liter turbo, which I believe is only 235 horsepower. So like I said, in essence, this is replacing the V6, and it is a new turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 269 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah, and I think if you compare it to a lot of its rivals with the naturally aspirated engines, you are going to find that this one has more torque. It pushes you back in your seat more so, which is certainly a good thing to have in this segment.
Alright, so there was a launch from a stop to give you a little bit of a picture of what that looks like, and I think it's important to note that this actually does have a faster 0 to 60 than the outgoing V6 as well. We're looking at 7.5 seconds as compared to 8.3 seconds previously. The overall refinement of this engine, in case you're wondering, will I miss having that V6? I actually don't think you will.
Yeah.
This is a really smooth turbo 4-cylinder. If anybody knows how to do a good turbo 4, it would be the Volkswagen Group, since they use this engine in a number of different products, including Audi products. It really just has a nice refinement, and it never gets loud, even when you put your foot all the way down to the ground.
Yeah.
Now, as far as other aspects of the powertrain, you do have an 8-speed automatic transmission. That's nice and smooth. It shifts through the gears really quickly when you put your foot down. Don't have to wait long to get several gears dropped.
Yeah, and as far as how it's put to the ground, you do have standard front drive or optional all-wheel drive on all trim levels except for the Peak Edition, which comes standard with all-wheel drive. And a small correction to what I just said, it is actually Peak Edition and above. So that does mean the vast majority of your Atlas trim levels will have standard all-wheel drive. And as far as your fuel economy, I will go ahead and knock that off. You're going to have 23 miles a gallon combined with front drive, or 22 miles a gallon combined when you choose all-wheel drive. As far as how that rates compared to some of its rivals, that is going to be better than a lot of your V6 naturally aspirated rivals, and it is increased over the previous V6 that used to be on this Atlas model. So certainly a nice bump in fuel economy for getting this new engine set up. Now, before we get any longer on in this drive, I do want to talk about this Atlas model's ride quality. This has always been an area where this car has excelled, and that's going to continue for 2024. Honestly, I believe this is one of the best riding options that you can get in the entire segment. when you hit a bump, it really does a good job of smoothing it out and making sure there's not much intrusion inside the cabin. It's very softly sprung in general, the suspension, and we even have the largest 21-inch alloy wheels on this model, so I'd imagine your ride quality is even better if you choose one of the lower end trim levels. So certainly ride quality is superb when you go for this Atlas. All right, going 55 miles an hour, let's get our sound level reading. All right, 56.5 is where we've settled in for this Atlas. Now, one thing I want to point out is that we are on a media drive. We're in New York State, so this is not our typical road that we test on.
The road sucks.
Yeah, this is not a great road, but we are looking forward to testing it back home. Hopefully Volkswagen will maybe loan us one of these Atlas models so we can do it on our home stretch and get our official sound level reading. But we wanted to give you that as a reference point.
And the previous 2023 model was actually our quietest sound level reading in this entire segment. So more than likely, this is going to continue. I would anticipate to be one of the quietest options in the segment.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to know more about those sound level readings within the segment, go to our all-new website, carconfections.com. You can go through each segment of vehicle in any category and rank the vehicles based on their sound level reading, different factors and stuff, so you can see how every vehicle compares to the rivals. So certainly a very useful feature on carconfections.com. I want you guys to go ahead and check out.
Now, while not a focus of this model, I do want to mention the driving dynamics. If you were thinking this was going to be a 3-row GTI, no, it's definitely not. Just like before the refresh, this is going to skew a lot more towards that comfort focus. So when you have that ride and handling balance, this is going to be really focused on ride quality. As such, you do have a pretty good amount of body roll, definitely when you're going around corners. The steering is going to be very, very lightweight as well. And, you know, I think overall, we would like to call that today's airball, because some of the rivals are really focused, I think, on making the vehicles feel a little smaller than they are. These are very large SUVs at the end of the day, usually about 200 inches. And I think I really like having that more tight feel that something like a Telluride is going to give you a little bit more of a tight, sporty, not really sporty.
Or a CX-90 now is a really big option in the segment if you care about driving dynamics. Now, I do also want to hit the slam dunk. I think that in general has to be the 2024 improvements. With this refresh, I think Volkswagen really knocked it out of the park. I like the exterior changes that they've made, and the interior is where it really comes to life. They've made it more practical with storage solutions. It's a lot more luxurious than it ever was before. It really just brings it to one of the upper options in the segment, whereas previously the interior was a little less premium, and that was certainly something that we noticed, especially if you compare it to something like a Kia Telluride and Palisade. And lastly, I want to talk about your warranty. That's going to be for your 50,000 miles for both your basic and powertrain warranty. Additionally, you're going to get 2 years and 20,000 miles of complimentary maintenance if you choose this Atlas model. And let's talk pricing for this Atlas. Now, this is an area I do want to kind of talk about, because the prices on the base models have risen quite a bit for 2024, but really considering the fact that you had the standard 2-liter 4-cylinder last year, and now you're getting the upgraded 2-liter 4-cylinder engine that has the power of the V6, it's not really that bad of a price increase overall. So we're starting at $37,725 for the SE model, SE Tech $41,625, Peak Edition $46,555, and then there are a few other trim levels ending in this SEL Premium model $52,455. Once we add in destination on this particular model, we're looking at $53,805 fully loaded out, which I will point out is pretty much in line with the rivals. If you're comparing it to a Grand Highlander, though, this is going to be cheaper fully loaded out. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the 2024 Volkswagen Atlas SEL Premium R-Line. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By doing so, you play a really pivotal role in what content we're able to shoot. We're here in New York City because New York City.
New York City. Here we are in New York City. This isn't how I remember New York City.
We're here in New York filming this Atlas because of you guys. So you really play that pivotal role by subscribing and watching our content and getting us invited so we can see some of the newest cars first. And if you are that current subscriber, thank you so much. We really do appreciate all of your support. Also, if you haven't had the second to check out our new website, go ahead and do that. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.